What's up, everybody? This is Pete's Secret Stash, and this one here is like a page out of my own personal diary. It's a hard subject for me, but something that I need to get off my chest. I need to branch out and start fishing with different high-end equipment from other manufacturers than just my two favorite Japanese manufacturers, being Megabass and Daiwa. I've actually been trying a whole bunch of new stuff since I started here with Omnia, and I've been enjoying the fact that I've kind of spread my wings and I'm giving other stuff a shot and trying to see what all the brands have to offer in that high-end category. I found myself doing a lot of research from all the different brands on what type of reels and rods I would like to use, and I stumbled upon this one accidentally, and I'm absolutely blown away by it so far. And this is one of the first major purchases I've made outside of my comfort zone when it comes to rods and reels anyway, in a long time. This is the Abu Garcia Revo ALF reel. And when I was doing my research, I knew Abu Garcia's flagship reel, the MGX and the MGXtreme, were extremely lightweight reels. I believe they're magnesium frames. They have great braking profiles. I've got some friends who bought spools, the aftermarket spools for them, and they can do some incredible stuff with that BFS type casting, which means bait caster finesse system, so you can throw like super lightweight baits with a bait caster that you typically be hamstrung with a spinning reel with, but that you can get away with it with a bait caster by using some of these aftermarket spools that some of these high-end Abu Garcia reels will accept. Now, Abu Garcia has been using a lot of engineering, more so lately than even in the past, from Japan. And a lot of Japanese influences coming to these reels, and a lot of the Japanese engineers from Pure Fishing are getting involved in a lot of their upcoming reels that got coming out. But this little one is, I decided to use this one for my secret stash video because this one it's a little bit of a ninja. It's sneaking underneath, sneaking around in the night. No one really knows a lot about it. But I noticed, and I bet you if you do your own homework, that a lot of the professional anglers that are out there, when you watch them do their recap videos, they're talking about the rods they're using, a lot of them had this reel on their rods, and I was always wondering, how come this one didn't get talked about a ton? This one actually is very similar to the MGX and the MGXtreme as far as it's the exact same frame shape. So they use the same similar tooling to make the reel. Very small, extremely palmable. In fact, I find it extremely palmable for me. Usually the gearbox on a lot of the Revo style reels get in the way of my fingers when I palm, the way I palm a reel, because I put my finger in front of the trigger, my pinky finger, when I palm a reel. These are extremely small, like really palmable, very light. But the difference between this one and those other high-end reels is this frame's actually aluminum. So it's got a little bit more of a sturdy feel to it. It doesn't have any flex. So what they're saying about this reel is this reel can be used not only for those light lures and can be tricked out with aftermarket spools, but it also has the ability to flip some big braid and a Texas rig and a big punching weight, or flipping a big grass jig, things like that. It can be put to the test a little bit more than even its higher end brothers and sisters there in the MGX and the MGXtreme because of the frame material. It does feature two brakes now. The early version of this reel came out and it was just a magnetic braking system, and it was a little bit of a wild child. Now it's got a dual braking system with a centrifugal pin, 2-pin system, and then it's also got an externally adjustable magnetic brake. So you can dial this thing in to do some tricky stuff. You want to get the light stuff on there in light line, but you could also put some big stuff on. And I really like fishing those underpowered, by most people's standards, flipping sticks, like a medium heavy fast action 7 to 7'3" rod and braid to a leader. And I think this is a perfect size reel for that, so I'm excited to get this one on the water for that. So if you're looking to branch out outside of just the typical what everybody else is running for the high-end reels and try something a little different that comes in at a killer price point. These are under $300, and you can buy parts for them and stuff in the aftermarket and trick them out if you want, or run it stock. I'm excited to try this one. What I've got it paired up with is a whole nother topic. I'm a little nervous about this one because of the reel seat on it, but everything else about this rod is one of the biggest surprises of this year so far as tackles come flowing in through our door. I've always been a big fan of really high-end, expensive rods, only just because they're a joy to fish with. I really don't have any other reasons for you than that. a lot of people want you to believe that you do catch more fish and that it does all this stuff for you, but we've seen that from some of the most successful anglers in the world, that the price of the rod doesn't really matter that much. It's all about your experience and the time you have on the water and how much you want to get out of it. And a super expensive rod, from your G Loomis NRXs to your Megabass P5 destroyers to your Daiwa Steez rods and your Poison Adrenas and rods out there that are in those spending price points, but they're a joy to fish with. They're super light. You can feel everything going on in the water, and you don't want to put them down. You find yourself fishing multiple baits, sometimes baits you shouldn't even fish with that rod because it's a joy to fish with. This right here came in, and Jacob that works here with us said to me, that might be the lightest, nicest rod I've ever picked up from anybody other than than that NRX Steez Legend Extreme St. Croix rod class. And I was like, what is it? And I went over, and it was an Abu Garcia Zenon 6'9" medium light casting rod. This thing is probably one of the most crispest, alive feeling jerkbait rods I've ever picked up in my life. I don't get to jerkbait fish as much as I want. I have a whole collection of 110s and fancy jerkbaits. And where I live, we get this little short window in the spring before they're just straight up on beds, and we're already fishing jigs and into grass fishing. But when I travel down south, I do a lot more. But I also fish a topwater a lot, smaller poppers, smaller topwater baits. I'm going to find reasons to use this rod. My only fear about the rod whatsoever is that it features sort of that ACS style reel seat, which typically bothers my finger because it's kind of got a secondary ridge here in front of the trigger. But this one, because of this reel shape, and if any of you know what I'm talking about, when I palm it, I don't touch that middle hump at all. My other finger rests right in front of it. So it's not bothering me one bit, so I'm going to give this thing a run. It features a carbon fiber rear grip and butt on it. That's got a kind of tacky material to it, so we'll have to see how that does in slippery conditions, but it already feels a lot more tacky than what most carbon reel seats have on them for a finish. Locking foregrip that's coated, or that's completely covered in carbon fiber, so there's no threads to grab. It's got a Fuji reel or hook keeper on it that you can move around the rod anywhere you want. Really cool feature. Should be done a lot more, in my opinion. Everybody's got their opinions on where a hook keeper should be, and everybody's wrong. It seems that having one wherever you want it is the best way to do it, and I think that's a great feature. These have titanium guides on them, titanium guide trains on them with silicone inserts in them. So they're very high-end guide train on them. They're super, super light. They actually feature a 1,000 power lux resin from 3M. Highest I'd seen is 500, and I think there's an 800 out there somewhere, but 1,000 power lux, which means basically the higher up that number, the less glue it takes to glue all these carbon fiber screws together. So this thing's super light and alive feeling. So a little switch up from my typical secret stashes. This is something that I'm just getting out there and going to try this spring, and I'll give you a report on it later this summer. Take care and go catch them.